Welcome to EXP CultureCast, EXP Realty's official diversity, equity, and inclusion podcast. I'm your host, Cody Gilkeson, the visionary leader behind EXP's DEI strategy. I believe that we all have a story to tell, and that's where this show really shines. We are a vibrant tapestry of diverse backgrounds and experiences, and that's our superpower. In each episode, we'll sit down with thought leaders, industry experts, and change makers who are driving meaningful conversations and actions in the realms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. From personal stories of triumph to deep dives into systemic challenges, CultureCast is your compass in navigating the complex landscape of DEI. This is CultureCast, the bi-weekly podcast about what makes us us. Hey everybody, and welcome. We are now in season 2. This is episode 1 of season 2 of the CultureCast, and I'm thrilled because we are now in May. We are in Military Month, and I've got a guest on here that I don't know how we haven't had on in 27 episodes yet, but the powerhouse of 1EXP, the military might behind 1EXP. We have the one and only Deanna Dopslaf with us. Hi, Deanna. Welcome.
Oh, Cody, thank you so much for such a great introduction. I really appreciate that.
So do you want to tell people a little bit about who you are? Most people know, but just for those in the back row.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Deanna Dopslaf. I'm actually a full-time agent here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So that kind of gives you a little bit about my business background. But my passion at EXP has been to be the founder and co-chair of the EXP Military Network here. And we kicked off, I think we're in our 3rd year now for the EXP Military Network. And it's been an exciting journey with a great community that we built here, amazing leaders. And it's a vision I had years back when I started here at EXP, when I couldn't find my place in terms of my community, people who had my experience of being a military brat and a military wife, and also finding a community for my husband, who's a veteran, who's now a real estate agent, and wanting to create something like that and being able to found EXP Military has been a really big blessing in my life.
That's fantastic. And it sets the standard for what we expect from our other 1EXP resource groups. When somebody asks me when they're growing a new resource group, how should we structure? I always give them the lay of the land for what it's like as an intro group, but I always tell them that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, where you want to shoot for once your network is at its peak, is exactly the blueprint of the military network, with state squads and leaders, and you never are. There's no hesitation to create a new leadership team spot if there's a gap that needs to be filled, and I love that, and it gives plenty of people a chance to be at bat, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not about creating a network for me. It's about creating a network for the entire military community, for EXP who wants to become more familiar and being able to understand the military experience more, but also to create opportunities for leadership. And I've been really adamant about that. We have about a 6-member executive board, and then we have leaders in every state. And the whole point is to lift everybody up, give everybody opportunities to lead, and hopefully someday replace me. And it's just really about just lifting everybody up into that opportunity.
It's so brilliant. And, not every company that has resource groups has a military group. And it's something that I love about EXP, that we have this community. And, I came into this with, a sort of outside in mentality from my personal life and my upbringing and my political leanings, that I was a little afraid of coming into a military network. What are they going to think about me? That kind of thing. But I got to say, for anybody that has that sort of hesitancy, I would beg you to give the military network a shot. And especially if you come to EXPCon, come to the military breakfast. It's one of the most welcoming events. It's one of the most welcoming groups I've encountered. The military network is so astoundingly apolitical, right? It's so welcoming. And so, like, I tell the story all the time. The first time I went to a military network breakfast, I sat at a table by myself because I didn't know anybody. And within minutes, maybe seconds, the table was filled with people who didn't know me and wanted to.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what? Like I'm this weird dude with blue hair that came, you know what I mean?
We
Painted
know.
nails.
And a lot of people, they have this misconception about the military and military members. And as my husband always says, he goes, I don't care your beliefs. I don't care who you pray to, who you love, what you believe, who you vote for. He's like, the whole point is, do we all have each other's back? That's what matters is are we in it together? And do we have each other's back? And none of that else matters. Nothing else matters. And we are really adamant about that within the military network at EXP. Everybody's welcome. We support every other's community groups. It's super important because that's, we all got into military service, whether it was as a veteran or as a spouse who elected to spend a life with a veteran. We got into that out of service, and service means serving everyone. Real simple.
We could take 4 things you said in that sentence, that paragraph, and put them on T-shirts. You know what I mean? Like, it's so good. So let's talk about Military Month. As we celebrate Military Month, could you share with our listeners what this month means to you personally and why we need to honor and recognize the contributions of our military members and our vets?
Well, I already shared I'm a military spouse. My husband served 31 years in the Air Force. I'm also a military brat. My dad was Army. He served in Vietnam. He served a total of 34 years. So my husband didn't quite hit that. And, I got to spend that lifetime of just being exposed to the military. And as a mother, both my mother, myself, my children, even we had to sacrifice our traditional lifestyle to be a military family, right? And I don't think a lot of people understand that. And Military Appreciation Month not only gives us an opportunity to support the veterans who give us fought to give us the freedoms that we have in this country, the freedom to live, the freedom to be successful, the freedom to have amazing careers, homes, families, businesses, the freedom to disagree, all of those things. We need to sometimes be reminded about the men and women who made that possible, but also about the families that made it possible for them to go out and serve. And I think Military Month, it covers all of that. It covers the veterans, it covers a military child, it covers the military spouse. There's just so many things that happen during Military Appreciation Month. And most important, just acknowledges and appreciates the sacrifice made by the military veterans and families like ours.
That's brilliant. We love giving you guys the platform to take the mic and do what you will with your events and stuff like that. And I'm so looking forward to what you've got in store for us for Military Month. You get such great engagement for your agent education events and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
absolutely we do.
So you mentioned about being a military spouse. How has your experience as a military spouse shaped your perspective on leadership and teamwork and resilience, and especially like your role in the real estate industry?
Adaptability. Navigating that kind of transient nature of the military family forces you to be adaptable. Some of us, some families are lucky enough to do something called homestead, and they stay in the same location forever. That's rare. We have some military spouses in our group that have moved a total 20 times in their husband's career, and their husband hasn't hit 20 years. So that's a move a year. Yeah. So it's adaptability and being able to lead your family and go into a diverse environment on a moment's notice, and basically being able to reestablish yourself, rebuild. It translates to a more proactive approach, I think, to problem solving, and that ability to be able to guide our clients through the different challenges in their real estate transactions. But also, I think it gives us a little more resiliency. We got a lot of people stirred up about the whole, what's the post-NAR settlement era going to look like in real estate, right? All right, throw something new at me. We'll figure that out. We're used to that. It's constantly changing, and you could be unpacking your boxes one day and get orders for a new duty assignment. And it's just, I think the key word is adaptability as a military spouse.
That's yeah, you put that perfectly. I think we see that in all of our military spouses that are here. That's a quality that they all share. Yeah.
Mhm.
So let's talk about the military families that we serve as agents. So frequent relocations and finding suitable housing in those new locations are often like the reality. So
Yeah.
how do we at EXP Realty support and find solutions to address the unique housing needs of military families?
A couple of things. One of the things that we focus on, one of our missions here with the EXP Military Network, is that, and if you don't know this, the military network at EXP isn't just for veterans and military spouses, it's also for supporters. And why do we want the supporters involved in our network? Is because
Like
we
me.
want yeah, see, we want to be able to share our experiences with other agents at EXP who maybe not don't really understand what the military experience is and how that translates to real estate and housing. I know everybody wants to work with military families because, oh gosh, they're going to move again in 3 years. Boom, repeat business. Let's go. But they
Mhm.
don't always understand the experience. And so we reach out and we try to train other agents to give them a little bit more understanding of the military experience, the challenges that they're facing, whether it be, housing issues, being able to afford housing, how does VA financing work? We want them to be better prepared to support the military family as a whole. So we as AXP professionals are professional and come from a place of integrity when we work with those families. VA training and problem solving is going to be a big, especially now post NAR settlement, dealing with how do we handle real estate commissions when the VA loan used to not allow it. That's going to change. Also, one of the things that we do is we create a nationwide network of agents. If you don't know this, we do have a military referral group. These are military members, military spouses, and dedicated supporters that are experienced with helping those families transition from duty station to duty station, but they also understand the challenges. Like right now, housing as prices are outpacing most of the wages that our military members are earning.
Right.
So how do we solve that problem? Those are the kind of things we love to teach and train on.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And now, something that is a big area for us for attraction, right, is these
Mhm.
folks that are transitioning out of military service into civilian life. But that can be so challenging. So, what do we do? What do we have as part of our culture and community to help vets that are looking to make a successful transition into the real estate business?
Yeah, that's a huge challenge, and that's one of the reasons I really wanted to see this group start. Is a lot of folks don't realize whether someone had a short career in the military or a long-term career in the military. We don't always know what their military experience was, and some of them, they're coming out of a career that was, super disciplined, super regimented, a lot of standard operating procedures, et cetera. I mean, the joke when my husband left the military and went into my real estate business with me was he walked out one day and I kind of looked at him and he goes, "Oh, tell me what I need to wear. I don't have a uniform today." Right.
Yeah.
So you go from that regimented place where you're allowed to develop leadership skills and you decide to pursue a career in entrepreneurship, and not just any type of entrepreneurship, but real estate with one of the highest failure rates, right?
Mhm.
And you compound that with maybe some experiences that they have. Maybe they're coming out with PTSD or other things. Um, the key is creating and helping them by creating a community that is supportive and inclusive. We're used to being in community. We're used to that. And so veterans and mil spouses can come to EXP and they can find that community again right here at EXP MilNet. We have camaraderie, mentorship, guidance. We have veteran service programs. We've got Reggie Moore, who is there to help, whether it be on, really basic concepts about veteran needs or maybe more personal things, PTSD, other issues. Then we have Jennifer Guinya. She is our mil spouse. She's focusing on helping military spouses be able to take their real estate careers and move them from location to location to location. It's really just, networking events, online forums, support groups, you name, whatever it is to help new and experienced agents, understand their journey and be able to help them have more successful real estate careers.
Right. Yeah. And you and I have talked in the past about how the mill spouse, that pool, that talent pool is so rife for us to go and recruit agents from, because the man is deployed and the woman has all this time on her hands. This really is a great, but there are those challenges there that they could have to move at the drop of a hat, and then all of the business building you've done sort of goes away, and you have to start from scratch.
And sometimes you do, but we're teaching them how they don't have to worry about that. I've got a lot of mill spouses I've worked with now in their second and third duty station, and they still have referral businesses back in their prior cities or teams back in their previous cities. So it's possible. A lot of people just don't understand military spouses are the highest educated demographic of the unemployed class, because employers don't want to hire them because they're going to be leaving in a year. I don't want to invest in them. But mill spouses can find a career in real estate, and they can build it and repeat and duplicate it every duty station.
Wow. Yeah, it really is. That's kind of like a superpower, actually. So, it's an extra set of tools you got in your tool belt there.
Mm-hmm.
So how does the military network engage and give back to military communities in their own communities and on the national level?
Well, you mentioned earlier, the way that we're structured, we do have national leadership, but we have state squads, and our state squads are the most amazing group of people you've ever met. Our state squads are led by Rick Shipp and Sierra Haskins. They are national directors of state squads. And they worked to bring in leadership at every state level, preferably a veteran and a military spouse. So we've got both covered. Sometimes we don't have enough volunteers, but I'd say we have about 3/4 of the state represented with some type of a squad. And what those state squad leaders are doing in their own backyards is so amazing. They're sponsoring veteran job fairs. They're doing fundraisers for different charities, food drives. Some of them are working on homes for wounded veterans, toy drives. I've got one group I'm working with right now to help them organize a booth at a family morale event. They do those on the military bases. They're doing veteran or VA loan workshops, housing workshops, investing workshops, because a lot of military members can buy at each duty station, and by the time they retire, have a significant real estate portfolio, right?
Right.
Couple of our state squads are working on veteran homeless initiatives. Especially some of them are working with the women veteran homeless initiatives. The other thing, PTSD is a big deal. They're doing PTSD awareness walks. We have Ken Murillo and a couple others up in Michigan that do this walk every year in support of PTSD services or PTS services. So they're doing so much in their backyards to give back to their communities, educate, and also represent EXP.
Yeah, right. All of this is, I mean, I hope that people who potentially want to lead groups, or people who lead groups, other 1EXP groups, are listening in here, because this is an arm that we really want to flex, right? We want to be able to show that this is possible, that you can do this sort of granular. This isn't just one of these online only virtual event type things. These 1EXP groups have the power to do this in their own communities. Mm-hmm. And I love, homelessness, that initiative really speaks to me. Some folks know this, but the very first episode of this, we talked about LGBTQ plus homelessness. I sit on the board of an LGBTQ plus homeless charity, and it's just something that doesn't get talked about enough, right? And something that we in the real estate industry actually could have a hand in helping with the homelessness epidemic. And I think, all of our resource groups could take a look at their community's homelessness population intersectionally and really see what it is that we can do to address that.
And a lot of folks don't realize that one of the fastest growing segments of the homeless population are women veterans. Mm. And people just don't realize it, but it's happening. And a lot of them are women with children.
Yeah.
So significant.
Yeah, it's pretty significant, pretty significant. And, it's great that we bring up PTSD where this is Military Month. It's also Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm happy to say that we're going to have Reggie Moore here on the podcast, episode after next. That's the final episode of May is going to be with Reggie. I'm thrilled to finally get him on the podcast too. Reggie's one of the most engaging speakers. You couldn't have picked somebody better to lead that Veterans Affairs piece of the military network, because he just gets people engaged with why this sort of work is so important. And PTSD it's not just something that affects the military, but it is a community that really is touched by this disorder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the things that the military folks really have to witness in their lives and in their service. You want to share some? I'm really inspired by you. I'm really inspired by Reggie, but I know you've got a lot more inspiring stories and testimonials from military affiliated agents who found success and fulfillment in their real estate careers here at EXP. Do you want to tell us about some of those folks?
Yeah, I've got a couple of them I want to share about. One of my favorite ones, I've already mentioned her once. It's Jen Guinia. She's out of Wichita Falls, Texas. She services military families there at Shepherd Air Force Base. And she's also a National Mil Spouse Director. And if you ever get a chance to meet her, she is one spitfire. I mean, she is she is a hoot. She is the most transparent, open, very honest person you're ever going to meet, and super passionate about her military family, super passionate about the military spouse experience. But what really amazes me is as I've got to watch her grow over the last year or two. She's been involved in the MilNet. If you get a chance, find her on TikTok. She's got a great TikTok channel, super transparent. I mean, she just bears her soul there, and you're going to learn a lot from her. And watching how she's grown and changed and watching her business grow it's been pretty awesome. Definitely one of my favorite people. Another one is Sherry Gramlich out of Michigan. She was, when I first met her, she was actually one of the very first people who raised her hand and just said, "Hey, I'd like to get involved on the state level." She comes across very quiet. She's not. She is also a firehouse, and just watching her in Michigan grow her community locally. She's involved on a lot of different veteran committees and things, but it allowed her, and this is where, this isn't all about always just selling more homes, but just by giving back to your community, her business started to explode, and she iconed for the first time. And that was really cool to see that happen when she got to icon the first time. Another one, Charlene Bird, West Virginia. Her big thing is there's no military bases in West Virginia. Many people don't realize that. And it's like, how could she plug into her community, help her husband who has some of the same challenges mine does? That's been wonderful watching her. Lot of, and I've got some stories about some of the gentlemen I'll talk to you about later, but also the unnamed veterans, ones I'm not going to list their names because their journey is a lot more private. We have a significant community of veterans at EXP who are suffering from PTS or other issues, and they're finding help within the group. They're finding their community. Reggie Moore helps them. A while back, we actually had someone go into the EXP military workplace and made a post, and the post was a cry for help. It was, I woke up this morning, I don't think I can keep going kind of thing. And it was like, we caught it within minutes of it going on there. We had him hooked up with Reggie. We had him hooked up with resources. We had everything. And it was like, that community was there and we were on top of it. We're there, we're watching, we're here to help. And to me, that was really a powerful day for me, because that was someone we could have lost who was calling for help, and Reggie and the rest of the team were there to help. But he's not the only one. There's others who stepped forward and asked for that help. And so those would be those inspirations of for me are those veterans. We all know who they are. We don't share their names, but it's been great to see their journey and see that they're still with us, see that they realize there's opportunity here, there's community, there's family. So
yeah, that's beautiful. I love that the network was able to step up in that way. And I love that, you've created such a culture and an environment where somebody would feel comfortable to reach out. It
Yeah.
also speaks to that, like, if it gets far enough that they reach out in a workplace group, how many of them aren't reaching out?
Right.
Makes
Yeah.
you think about that. It's something that gets to me. I don't share this often, but I suffer from PTSD
Mhm.
from a sexual assault when I was in college, and it's something that little things in my life trigger, and it makes me it gives me such an empathy for the folks in our military that suffered in the same way that I do, and I'm somebody who has survived a suicide attempt. I've been at that darkest place in my life, and I'm just really grateful that we work in an organization where people have support
Yeah.
through those moments.
And,
Right?
and MilNet's not the only group that offers that.
It's not. No.
No.
Yeah.
So.
It's brilliant. So, back on track. Uh, what advice would you offer to veterans or active duty members considering a career in real estate? How can they leverage that military experience to
No.
really excel in this industry?
Actually, I mean, it's there are so many transferable skills. I mean, leadership. We talked about adaptability, discipline. I think one of the biggest things I see with real estate professionals, no discipline. It's like they're just all over the place.
Yeah.
But being able to tap into that and apply that discipline into your real estate career, problem solving, but also understanding that you're going to create those systems, standards, operating procedures for yourself. But the biggest thing is obviously plug into the community.
Mhm.
And plug into a community that recognizes the differences of your life experience, and seek mentorship and training everywhere you can, from other successful veteran agents. We've got agents such as Mike Nelson. He's my co-chair. Amazing, amazing man, always out there, always available to help mentor. He's growing a very large business network for himself.
The man he hit the ground running with regional rallies too. He was
Oh my
everywhere.
gosh, he was everywhere. He's also working on an organization called Military. You have to talk
Mhm.
to him more about that. Another great mentor is Garrett Howell in Texas, also powerful leader, great business. Jake Smoke in California, also a great leader. We got some Marines, got some Army, we got a lot of guys in there. But that's the whole point, is there are so many successful veteran realtors, and of course mil spouse realtors, but
Mhm.
successful ones that they're there, they want to help, they will let you plug into their businesses, even if you want to join their team or not join their team. Mike's got team members now all around the country. Several of them were already in the military network, and they just came together, and it made sense for that partnership. But when you come in and you come into real estate here, plug in to other people have succeeded, and they're going to help you. That's the
Right.
key.
That's brilliant. I mean, we often tell people, the first thing you do when you come in, and I will get to this at the end. I always ask the question at the end of the podcast, what advice do you give somebody when their first day is at EXP? And the common running through thread is find your tribe, right? And that's exactly what you're speaking to here. And I also, I haven't said this in the past, but most people don't belong to just one tribe,
No.
right? There's nothing stopping you from joining multiple of these networks and leveraging whatever tools you want.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason we have this big one EXP organization, is so we can hit as many aspects of people's personality or as many aspects of their life that they feel committed to and passionate about, right? That's I find myself, even if I wasn't involved in one EXP, even if it wasn't on the DEI team, I would naturally be the member of 6 or 7 of our resource groups, right? Because they're communities that I feel strongly about supporting, right?
Mhm. And,
Or
yeah,
beyond that, communities I feel strongly about learning from.
bingo.
That's why I'm a member of the military network, because
Yeah.
you and Reggie and Mike and Jennifer have so much that I can learn from. And I'm not even a real estate agent guy.
Yeah, we're a crazy and wild bunch. I mean, and you bring up a really good point. I think one of the things that we're struggling with in our country right now is the lack of desire to understand other people. the lack of desire to understand our differences and be okay with them.
Right.
And it's not just about finding the one community group that you fit into. It's also about finding other community groups that you feel you need to learn more about and become more in touch with and understand their experience. If you feel you have maybe a difference of opinion, or maybe you've got a conflict, one of the best ways is seek first to understand. So go join them, get to know them, understand them. And I think a lot of folks have come into the militant net that way. There's kind of a story about how the military network started at EXP, and there was a lot of pushback from a couple of folks that were just like, oh, this is not the right time to launch a military network. We were in the heat of all the riots and everything going on. They're like, oh, no, we're not going to do this. I'm like, wait a second, we're going to do this. I said, because part of it is to stop misinformation. Part of it is to seek to understand each other more. And so we really pushed hard to bring that. And that's, that was part of our vision, was to let people come into our community and see what we really are about. So
Right.
go out there.
Found groups because it's politically expedient, right? We found groups because there's a community that needs it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And being in this job has taught me so much about finding ways to relate to people who I have ideological differences with.
Yeah.
Right. And being able to learn their perspective so that I can speak to someone from across the aisle without raising each other's voices, and that kind of thing. Like we do have common ground. We do. Right. There's plenty we can learn from each other.
And still walk away and break bread together,
That's it.
Yeah, that's and that's and I miss that. I think we have the ability to maybe find that again. And that's one of the reasons, and everybody in our leadership, our state leaders, everybody, it's like, you have to be bought into that idea of, community is everybody.
Right. That's exactly it. And when we talk about, one of the letters in DEI is I for inclusion, right? Mm-hmm. And that means that you don't just celebrate when, okay, the company recognized my community, so I'm going to sit in my silo of my community.
Yeah.
That's not being inclusive, right? Mm-hmm. To be inclusive means to recognize we have all of these other communities and all of them have the same value as mine, right?
They do.
Yeah, it's really such an important lesson to learn, and I'm so glad we were able to touch on this. So what message would you like to share with our listeners during Military Month, whether they're veterans, active duty members, military families, civilians, supporters, non-supporters? What can they do to show their support and their appreciation?
Well, Cody, as we honor Military Appreciation Month, I want to invite all veterans, active duty members, military families, and civilians, and of course our supporters, to join us in making a difference through the EXP Military Network. Whether you're a veteran seeking, a great career in real estate, or, a civilian, or what we call a military supporter, looking to just show your support and appreciation for those who serve, or learn to better serve them in your businesses, EXP Military provides that platform for meaningful involvement and impact. Together, we stand in solidarity with our military community, offering support and resources. I mean, like Reggie and the Veteran Services, Jen and Mill Spouses. The other thing is we offer opportunities for growth and success. So join us this month, not just honoring the sacrifices and celebrating the veterans and their families, but also join us in building, a brighter future at EXP for those people to have those opportunities and for us to just better serve our clients.
I love that. So I want to touch on, we talked about this briefly, but tell me about some people from the military that have inspired you. There's a story you told me about your husband in an airport that I really think people should hear, right?
Yeah. So, you asked me a little earlier when we were talking ahead of time, who inspires me? My father, obviously, taught me service, taught me, service above self. And I think, I carried that on into life, into my business and everything. Is part of why we have the MilNet. And sometimes that service kind of goes unrecognized and unappreciated. My dad was a Vietnam vet. Lot of abuse of our Vietnam vets when they came back. That was just really a lot of negative public outcry and treatment of them, and it's not gone. And the example of my husband, and one of the reasons I really respect him, is I have seen him in several situations confronted just out of nowhere in airports, at restaurants, or just at strange places. He'll get stopped by people who are really have a beef with the military, and they'll just start arguing with them, calling him names, doing things like that. And the first time it happened, it was really unsettling. And now I watch it and sit back with pride, because he'll just sit back and he'll just, shake his head and nod and let them say their piece. And then his simple response is this: thank you. And they'll look at him and just like, what do you mean, thank you? And he's like, thank you. And they'll kind of go on, and it just diffuses it. And he'll finally just say, here's the deal. He said, thank you. The fact that you've been able to treat me in this manner and to have this opinion that obviously I don't agree with and many other people don't agree with, means that the last 31 years of sacrifice that I've made and my family made to serve in the military and protect the freedoms that we have here in America means I did my job. Because in most countries, and in many countries, you wouldn't be able to have that opinion.
Right.
And he said, so thank you for letting me know that the last 31 years was worth every amount of time and sacrifice I made. And it's like, it diffuses it immediately. And most time they either get it or they just walk off super frustrated. But it's amazing to watch him be able to handle something like that with such grace and resolve. And to know that, yeah, I gave up a lot, and I may not like what maybe is happening in the country today or what other people think, but I fought for them to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. It's such an important piece. It's such an important piece.
So I honor him and my father for those things.
It reminds me of a time when I was in college, I attended a funeral for a gay guy that I knew in college who was killed in a car accident. Mm-hmm. And we were picketed at the funeral by Westboro Baptist Church. Because the gentleman who died had been in a production of the Laramie Project, which is a really politicized play, right?
Yeah.
And there was a group of veterans, bikers, who showed up with giant American flags and blocked all those protesters from being seen by the family. We didn't know them. We didn't ask them to be there. They just were, right?
Yeah.
And they were angels in that moment. And it's one of those things that's always given me pause about judgment of the military community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's such a real thing. It's such a real thing. People, if you have any question about, why we have a military network when we are representing groups that are historically marginalized.
Yep.
This is a group that's historically marginalized. You don't have to look that deep under the surface to find it, right?
Yeah.
And I think right now, the scariest thing about the sort of divided society that we live in is that everybody is getting it, right? Yeah. You can find a relation here between the queer community and the military community getting this kind of hate because of who they are or because of what they do, because of who they serve, down to because of where you live, right? I've faced judgment because of my Southern accent. People think I'm racist. You know what I mean?
You just brought up a good point. In our country today, every group is under attack for something. It's kind of you
politicizing people's identity is wild. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It's fascinating, and hopefully we'll get past this time in our country and come back to that ability to work together, come together, and have civil discourse again, and see the beauty in our differences instead of seeing it as something divisive. Hopefully we'll get back back to that. and soon. But
Yeah,
at this
yeah.
point, we keep doing the things that we're doing, Cody, to have the dialogue and appreciate each other's differences, and hopefully that'll move that forward faster.
I think it will. I think it will. That's you got to put in the work. You got to put in the work, and you got to hear other people's lives. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I would say hear their stories, but you got to let other people into your life, right? Just if you disagree on one thing or you have politicized somebody's
Something,
geographical location or sexuality or job choice or whatever it is,
hair
put
color,
that crap out the
yeah,
window,
whatever.
right? Just forget that's what they want us to do,
Yeah,
right? The great they that's pulling the strings. But carve your own path, get to know your own people, right? I
yeah,
think in another phase of my life, I never would have gotten to know you, and I would have been doing myself a disservice.
yeah. It's amazing when you open up and just meet and get to know other people. I mean, even within our network, we're so different.
Mm.
It's so different, and yeah, sometimes there's a few people that are just a little, little off, and
Every family's got one,
we all
right?
got them. I mean, every group we all have them. Sometimes
Yeah,
they're a little too radical, a little too passionate, a little too something. But bringing them into the community allows them to sort of see how we play, and
right.
it's been great. I don't think we've had a bad anything go wrong with any of our groups here in terms of the military network. Everybody's just contributing, growing, and
That
bringing as
speaks to the
much value
culture.
as we can to the company.
That's it. That's it exactly. Yeah, everybody's on the same page for the culture. It's one of those natural things that you can't write a playbook for,
No,
right?
absolutely.
All right. Well, this has been a very impactful episode. I'm very glad I finally had you on. I'm very glad that I waited until I was more comfortable in this podcast to have you on because I didn't expect for this to be such an emotional episode. But
Well,
anyway,
it is. It's
it's
when you're
been
with good people and you've got a great, strong community of like we do at EXP with our DEI groups and everything. It's there's just so many beautiful things happening, and it's nice to be able to share that with everybody.
that's great. All right. With that, we'll wrap up the episode. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thank
And
you,
let's
Cody.
get the outro. See you, D.
All right,
Thank you
take
for
care.
joining us on this episode of CultureCast. If you have time, please be sure to scan the QR code on screen now to leave us a review on Glassdoor. On the next episode of EXP CultureCast. Moving back over to island culture, I know there's two big things that have had such an impact on island life, and those would be the COVID-19 pandemic and the insanity of our weather patterns that have been affected by climate change. How have those things affected the mindset in the island?